Well, hey, Julien, look at you. There in the City of Lights. How's the evening? How's Paris? How are you doing?
Good morning, Max. Look, it's getting cold here. We've passed mid-November already. But good news is we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. So there you go. There is hope.
Yes. Rebirth, all of that good stuff.
And I mean, nothing worth mentioning from me this week. Pretty good week, I would say. What about you? You got the couch. So what's painful this week?
I have a story of contrasts. As you know, we went to Italy a little while ago, and when we went with some friends, and one of the friends came out early and did some work there, and then we caught up and had the vacation time. And when he was in working, I don't really know the details, but he fell and he hit his head. And it was bad enough that he had to go to an emergency room and get checked out. And they did MRIs, they did C scans, they did all this stuff. Turns out he needed stitches in the back of his head. Other than that, he was totally fine. And finished all that up. And then they said, okay, thanks a lot. And he sat down and said, okay, give me the paperwork. Because in the US at this point, you would do an hour of checking out and paperwork and everything else. And they said, oh, that's it. You're good. Thanks a lot. And he was just blown away. It's like, wait, this is, where's my 6 hours of paperwork? Now, the contrast is trying to go to the Uffizi in Florence. If you want to get tickets ahead, you go to the website and you fill out the thing that says, this is what I want. You put in the credit card information. It's very troublesome back and forth. And then you get to the page where it says, for every person who's coming, we need their first name, last name, birth date, gender, and 2 or 3 other pieces of information. And they do it all in a form that has a very short timeline. I got timed out on 3 times. And then I finally got to the point where I filled it all out. Everything was right. I had somebody else look at it. I had somebody else do it from their computer separately. Everything was filled out properly, but it still said you're missing information. So literally we couldn't get the tickets ahead. So that's the story. It's just the contrast of something where you would expect a whole lot of very detailed paperwork being needed, and none was needed. And another place where it's absolutely absurd that you would have hardcore detailed paperwork here. And that's where the requirement was.
And yet it is again a travel story.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm not too surprised by the first one being European. I find it normal. Actually, when there is any paperwork, and I had a story a few weeks or months ago that I shared where I had paperwork to fill. This is when I find it not normal and frustrating. Especially that when you have paperwork in the healthcare industry, at least in France, it's very traditional one, like real paper, not digital paper, actual paper with snail mail and all of these things. But I feel like, back to the customer first score, when you are in a bad place, and usually when you go to the hospital, it's not a good day. This is a time you do not want paperwork. You want it to be smooth. On the other hand, when you go travel, not saying you should have a bad experience, because that's terrible what you and your friend went through. But at least it's for something enjoyable. So a little bit of pain is not adding to another pain. It's not good, but it's not as bad in my opinion.
Fair enough. I guess it's just such a difference experience. This is another thread we've had, is the difference in health systems between the US and Europe. You so expect long paperwork things when you get there, long paperwork things when you're done, and then bills from 4 different providers and sorting all that out. Just remarkably wonderful how easy that was. I okay, I agree, it's a time where, yes, I'm going to do something fun. It's not like the Uffizi needs my business. They're sold out constantly. But I mean, if my, I was done. I wasn't going to go. We were going to go do something else. And my friend figured out a way to go get the tickets live. So we ended up going. But I don't know. It just insanely unnecessary. Why do you need the birth dates of people? If you need names so you can match it to a ticket, okay. They didn't check that, by the way. But
I
what?
So I'm thinking two things. First, I'm thinking this is a legal requirement, not a company requirement,
Oh,
which does
interesting.
not.
I never
And
would have
I
thought
think
of
it's
that.
because of all the terrorist attack we had over the past 10 years in Europe. I guess train and transportation are getting a
Oh,
little bit, if someone leaves a luggage and we need to track it back and find out who could that be. I'm guessing, right? Pure guessing game at this point. But I'm guessing it's because of all the terrorist attack we've suffered in the past. I'm guessing this is not a company requirement, which is absolutely not an excuse for doing it right. You can have legal requirement and do it right. And obviously they do it entirely wrong. And I'm guessing it's actually hurting them more than it's hurting customers. Now, if it is a monopoly, which seems to be what you're saying here, well, they probably don't care because if the trains are always filled anyway, who cares if customers are happy or not? But in the long run, that's a bad game to play. You want your customers to be able to buy. That sounds
yeah,
stupid.
yeah. And I wouldn't put the Uffizi's the museum in Florence. It's the
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. I thought you were talking about trains here. Okay,
yeah,
museum.
no. Yeah. So, but it's all the same things hold, right? It's they're full constantly, and they truly don't have any competition. I mean, unless somebody was going to steal all the art and start a competing museum or something like that. Um,
Let's talk to the British Museum about this. They have
yeah,
few art
there you
pieces
go.
from other places. But anyway, it does not excuse. I mean, they're trying to make it digital, which is great.
Yeah,
But do it right if you do it. Don't do it wrong. So, what are the learnings here? Um, Probably it would be worth bringing a bunch of American healthcare professionals for trips in Italy to get some learnings.
yes,
Right? That
please.
would be a
There's
good
got to
place
be a
to
way
start.
to make that better. And and I think the Uffizi people need to go to the Louvre or the Met in New York or somewhere. I've never had such a ridiculous, painful experience getting into a museum. There's got to be a better way for that.
Yeah, and so now that I understand you were talking about museum, it's even worse than that because museums are a little bit like the media of 2023, meaning that this is this industry that is somehow dying. I mean, when I was a kid, we would go to museum with my parents, with my grandparents. That would be an activity you would do. How often do you actually go to museums nowadays, unless you are actually traveling abroad and you want to understand the culture, but within your
Pretty
own
rarely.
country,
Yeah, pretty
right?
rarely.
And it's so hard to bring people to museums. Probably the same thing is happening to cinema, even more after the pandemic. Now we have
Yeah.
all these new technologies that make it so comfy to stay home. You don't want to go out to a restaurant, you order in. You don't want to go to museum, you have all the information on the internet. You don't want to go to cinema, you get Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever it is. So if you don't make it easy and appealing for people to come, your industry is about to die. Now, you always have people who would go to museums, but it's the participation is just going to decrease and decrease over time. It's your job to make it as easy and painless as possible for customers.
Well, they failed that part. No two ways about it.
All right. So is there anything they could do better? Hire a UX designer, I guess, would be the first step.
UX designer. I mean, first thing, why are you asking for birthday? I mean, if you were bringing two couples, you probably would not know the birth dates of your friends, and you're sitting there on a timer, being asked to fill it out. That's just
And why a
patently absurd.
timer? Why a timer is already weird on its own.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Good point. Yeah, they're just that sign up process was broken 8 different ways, and I can't believe it couldn't be fixed. You could fix 6 of them, even if there was some legal requirement on the birth date. Okay, then what the heck? But I doubt it. My friend walked up and got the tickets. I'm sure he didn't give any information. So it just makes none sense whatsoever.
All right. You're not gonna go back to Italy to visit another museum anytime soon anyway. So can we consider you feel better about that story now?
Yeah, I do. I just, more than anything, I've worked my whole life in tech, and when I can't fill out a form properly, it makes me feel very insecure. So just having you validate, yeah, that was a hard form. I needed that more than anything else.
I can't agree more. But at least good hospital experience, not for you, for your friend, but good anyway. So there is that. Well, glad to hear you feel better. What about I try to bring a light story for next week?
It sounds like a perfect idea.
Perfect. I'll do that then. Thank you very much, Max, and have a beautiful day.
All right. Thanks, Julien. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, switching
Sorry, I should have been
backgrounds.
clearer on that. But